Okay, so I don't know if you want to mute yourselves, please, and then that will leave Keith to educate us all.
You can hear me all right, can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'll share screen. So can you see that all right?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Well, recently I've entered a few images in club competitions using a novel filter in Affinity. You may recall this one, which Gary liked quite a lot. This one, which Dave Murphy was kind enough to praise. And this one, which somehow fooled a judge into awarding me the Malcolm Leach Trophy. So Peter's asked me to talk about how this filter works and what it's all about. And I'm very happy to do so, but I think I should give a health warning first. And that's that this tool really suits people of a particular mindset. And the quote from these two famous photographers, I think hits the nail on the head. It's very much the case that the images you'll make with this filter are far from reality. They're very made up, they're artificial, they are paradoxical, that sometimes they look frankly weird. And you have to be happy to be in that universe. And there will be many rejects along the way. There'll be lots of trial and error, lots of duds, a lot of rubbish, and the occasional gem thrown in. So if you're not of that mindset, and I can imagine many people in the club won't be, well, I suppose at best the next half hour will be a bit dull. And at worst, the whole thing will drive you completely nuts. But if you're like me, then, well, I just love it. And I find it strangely addictive. So with that off my chest, this is the rough program of my talk. I'm going to go briefly through the reasons why we bother to flip or mirror images. For those who don't know, now I'm sure there are people who are very experienced at this, but for those who don't know, I'll just show the traditional way that that you make a mirror image in Photoshop, or in this case, Affinity. I'll then try and do the same with Affinity's mirror filter and point out some of the differences, which are considerable, and some of the extra scope, which I think I can honestly claim is effectively infinite. It's a bold claim, but you'll see it probably is true. And I'll finish with some worked examples and a small personal project. So first of all, what's the interest in flipping or mirroring an image? Why do people bother? Well, I guess there are these two basic reasons. The first is that you want to make a reflection in water, either when one doesn't exist, or there is one, but the reflection's not up to snuff and you want to improve it in some way. And the second is to use symmetry to create symmetrical patterns and shapes for aesthetic or creative reasons. For example, suppose the right wing of a building looks attractive and the left half looks ugly, and you wish it was a bit more symmetrical and all based on the right half. Or you could say the same thing about interesting cloud formations, that kind of thing. So this is an example of the second kind. It's a nice spiral staircase, lovely flowing shapes. What would it look like if we had two staircases instead of one? And that's my exploration of that using the usual mirror flipping methods. And it's a matter of choice whether you like the one or both, but it gives you another possibility. And then in the first camp, here we have quite a nice sunset at the docks. What would it look like if we had a more interesting reflection? And there's my attempt to show that. Now, I should say at this point that as with compositing, there's a whole skill in blending the reflected layer in so that it looks plausible, so it fits in. And I'm not going to go into that. Perhaps Ray will in his, I don't know, in his compositing talk. It's a whole other set of skills, and I wouldn't claim to have mastered them here. But this is just an example of the mirror use. And then a slightly more ambitious example. I've taken this picture of a nice sky from my lawn, actually at 9 o'clock in the morning on 3 days before Christmas. And I've taken on a separate occasion this clump of trees. I've selected them, made them into a silhouette using a levels adjustment. What would happen if I just dropped the silhouette into the sky and used a mirror effect? And with a few edits, I come up with this image of a fantasy island with a blood red sky. So lots of fun to be had with this. And all these images are being made using the traditional image flipping method in the traditional Photoshop way. So the standard method is like this, and I hope you'll forgive this image. It's a bit unforgivable, really, not to have the left side of the bridge if you want to do what I'm doing, but I've missed it out. So we have what we have. So you take the rectangular marquee tool and you left click with your mouse and you trace out a shape like this of what you want to copy. And then you need to make a copy, you need to paste it, and then you need to move it. So you can do it with the usual keyboard shortcuts. In the Windows, it would be Control C to copy, Control V to paste. But you can also do it within the program. So you can do edit, copy, edit, paste. And I'll press the escape key just to get rid of these marching ants. And it looks like nothing's changed, but if you look over here, there's an extra layer that's been created. And if I switch off the background layer, you can see that's the copy that we've made. Now you need to move it. And for that, you use the move tool, which is this arrow up here, keyboard shortcut V. And once you have the bounding box in place, you simply click with your left mouse and drag and pull the thing down into its rough position. And then, of course, we need to flip it now. We need to turn it upside down. And you can use these handles and do it manually, but the easiest way in Affinity is to go to Arrange and Flip Vertical. And that's about right, isn't it? Except that I really would like the reflection of this lamp, and I haven't managed it. So that's very easily handled too. I can take the crop tool. I can just make the canvas bigger like that and apply the crop. And there's the missing bit. And all I have to do then is to recrop just to trim off the bit that I don't need down here. So that's showing the flipping method in a vertical plane, and we can do the same thing in the horizontal plane. And this time I will extend the canvas before I start like that. I will go through the same thing quickly. So the rectangular marquee tool, edit, copy, edit, paste, escape, V for the move tool, move the thing across and arrange. And this time I flip horizontally rather than vertically. And sometimes you have to fiddle about to get this join exactly right. Sometimes you have to use a healing brush at the end, but basically you just now crop to size, and we've done it. And it's usually as easy as this. It's a very straightforward method. Occasionally you have to just do a bit of tidying up, and I'll show you an example of that. Sorry, just pressing the wrong thing there. So this time I don't need to extend the canvas, but I do have something that's going to create a bit of a mess in the sky. So I will edit, copy, edit, paste, escape, B for the move tool, move the thing across, arrange, flip horizontal, put it in place. But if I let go now, look at the mess we have in the sky here. And that's really because this mess arises because of the complication of the cloud formation and the birds. And that's easily dealt with. We need to get rid of a bit of the top layer, and for that we just apply a layer mask. It's white initially, as you can see here, so I need to paint in black. White reveals, black conceals. So I take a paintbrush over here, I make sure that we've got black on the front here. You can click here to change, but I want black on the front. 100% opacity, 100% flow, 0 hardness. And I just paint away the bits that offend, like that. And if I switch off the bottom layer, you can see what I've done. I've just painted a bit of that duplicate layer off using the mask. So all of this is pretty straightforward, and that's the traditional method. Now, what about the Affinity mirror filter? Well, first of all, where does it live? It's up here, and it's in filters, distort, mirror. So you have 3 clicks to apply this, and I use it often enough that I've made myself a shortcut. I made it on the toolbar over here, and I showed you previously how you do this. You go into View, and you go into Customize Tools, and that shows all the tools that Affinity has, and you find the one you want, and you just left click and drag it and drop it on this bar here. And when you're finished, you close. And this one down here is the mirror filter. So throughout this talk, when I use the mirror filter, I'm just going to click on this symbol. But if you haven't got a shortcut, you would have to go into View. You'd have to go into Filters, Distort, Mirror each time, which is, for me a bit tedious, but that's the way it's done. So let's apply the filter, and it doesn't look too shabby, does it? And this is the default setting of the mirror filter. But what you need to realize is that if I click on the canvas and I hold my mouse down, I can click and drag in just the same way as I've shown you with the traditional method. So that's in many ways easier, isn't it? But we will apply it. Now, what I should have mentioned, actually, failed to mention this, is this is a destructive process. So the filter actually works on the pixels in a non-reversible way. Of course, I can always undo the history, but the good practice here is I should really have made a duplicate layer to begin with, and I hope you will when you use this filter. And to make a duplicate layer, you simply press Control J on a Windows computer or Command J on a Mac. Now, once again, I don't have this light, and it would be nice to have the reflection. Well, last time I solved that by hitting the crop tool and pulling the bar out and applying the crop, and this time it doesn't work. And this is a slight a fine point of the filter, I think, really, or a quirk. And it's that because this is destructive, this thing has already happened. There's nothing down here. Not to worry, it's easily worked around. What we really need to do is to make our crop before we begin. Now, with the traditional method, it didn't matter whether, as I showed you, it didn't matter whether you extend the canvas before or after, but with the mirror filter, it does. So now if we apply the mirror filter and I put that in position, let's move this out the way, I can see, then there's the bit that I want. And actually we've got a bit more than we want, but that's just the same as cutting, the same as taking off the surplus canvas with the traditional method. So if you do it that way, it works every time, and it's just as easy or easier than the traditional method. Well, that's fine as far as it goes, but it's not more than you get with traditional methods. And if that was all there was to it, I really wouldn't bother to be giving you this talk. There wouldn't be much interest for me. In fact, we've actually barely scratched the surface of what this filter can do with this, and we really need to look at it in a bit more detail. And to help us understand what's going on, I've made this schematic. So I've numbers and arrows, and I've marked, for reasons that will become apparent, I've marked the center of my picture, and I've made the canvas a lot bigger. Now, you don't need to do this to apply the mirror filter. It's simply there so we can get an understanding of what's happening. So we'll apply the filter, and I want you first of all just to look at the dialog box. So it's got three basic parts. It's got the number of mirrors, and I think you can guess what that is. And it's got these two dials called output and input. Now, what on earth are they? Well, we'll play with the output dial first. But just to tell you that the job is to move this blue line, this radial line, around the circle. And you can do that in one of three ways. You can either click on the outside of the circle, and the line will move around in 45-degree increments, like that, like that, like that, like that. Or you can just type an exact number in. If you know what number of degrees you want, you type the number in like that. Or like that. And the third way is you can hold down the Shift key and you can click and drag, and then you can move this line around the circle any number of degrees you want. Now, sorry, I should have done it with this one. Let's do it with this one. Okay. So three ways of doing it. Click around the circle, you move in 45-degree steps, type an exact number in, or I hold the Shift key and click and drag to turn the thing round. So what's the output dial doing? Well, it's obvious now, isn't it? It is whatever picture you've made, it just turns it around. And it turns it around as if it's on a turntable, and as if the center of the turntable is the center of the picture by default. So that's the output dial. I don't know why there is an output dial. I don't use that. Somebody will tell me why it's useful. I just say it to dismiss it. Now, the input dial works in just the same way. So you click to get 45-degree steps, you type a number in, or you hold the Shift key and turn it round. And whereas the output dial is turning the picture, the input dial is turning the mirror that makes the picture, like so. And by default, that mirror is being turned around the center of the picture. But if I click with my mouse and I hold it down, I change where the position of the mirror is. And so this is what's happening when I made my bridge photo just now. It really, two photos are coming together, and I'm with my mouse pointer, I'm just changing where the mirror is placed in relation to those two photos. Now, if you have the default setting here, the input dial is 0, the output dial is 0, the number of mirrors, just as it comes, one mirror. You can only move that mouse pointer up and down, so you can only get the traditional Photoshop type picture. But if you incline the mirror, then suddenly you can put that mirror anywhere on the canvas. And so if I go out here, where my mouse pointer is where the mirror is, where the mirror is located. And you can see now you've got two pictures which are at 45 degrees to one another. And if I put the mirror close, they overlap, but actually I can actually separate them if I've got big enough canvas. And with two mirrors, I will just show that we go out here, we actually have 4 images that are coming together to make the picture we want. And where the area of these 4 images overlap, you can get really an amazing variety of effects. Okay, well, that's all very well, but wouldn't it be nice to see it on a real picture? This is all a bit theoretical at the moment. So I'm doing the same here. I've got the spiral staircase before. I've marked the center just to help you see what's happening. And sometimes it helps me to plan as well, I think. And I will apply the mirror filter, make sure the mirror is central. And in the default position, these are the 2 pictures that are coming together. So I can have any one of those pictures if I like it. And similarly, here, I think these are the 2 pictures that are coming together. And if I get it right, that now is the Dave Murphy picture, made as easily as that. Okay, then if I turn my input dial again, I can find 2 pictures up here that are coming together. And I've got all this choice of imagery that I could present if I wanted. And here, I think I have to go this way. Oh, yes, yeah, okay. Yep, no, I've lost that one. Down here, okay. These 2 images are coming together. And that's, of course, the image that we saw in the traditional method, except that it's flipped now. With any of these methods, obviously, you would crop the canvas and flip the image at the end. But look, I've got all this extra choice in how to present that picture that probably wouldn't be available if you didn't have such a clever bit of software.
Just one thought, Keith.
Yeah.
If you twiddle the output now, will that rotate that to a normal distribution?
Oh yeah. I suppose it will. There we are. So it's done it for me. Yeah. So it makes the crop easier. You're right. Okay, well done. I knew someone would be cleverer than me.
I definitely wouldn't claim that.
Let's just try with 2 mirrors. So you can just type 2 in here, or you can move this slider up, or you can I'm just rotating the mouse wheel to have 2. So let's just see what sort of pictures are coming together. Oh, right, here we are. There are 2 Dave Murphy pictures for the price of 1 there. Here, what have we got? We've got, oh, I suppose, yeah, there are going to be 4 pictures, aren't there, with 2 mirrors. So we've got these kind of pictures we can make. So quite a lot of choice if you're prepared to play with this thing. Let's have a look at 180. Where are the pictures? They're down here. So we can have a kind of double version of the traditional method with variations. Okay, so I hope you're getting the idea that this is quite a sophisticated and clever bit of kit. Now, let's go back to this one for the moment. And what I thought might be fun would just be also to show you what happens if you increase the number of mirrors more than I've tried so far. So it goes up to 20 mirrors. So I'll just put this up a little bit, and we kind of run into a problem, don't we? And that's this funny polygonal edge. So what's all that about? Well, of course, it's artificial what I've done here. I've artificially made the canvas bigger, and in real life, that canvas is bounded by the edges of the edges of the canvas are bounded. These are the edges if you picture. So the filter will then cut off the bits that are sticking out, and it sometimes has to fill in the bits that are blank, and it does that by some sort of repetition of the pattern. Now, of course, with a canvas big like this, it's then what you see is not what you get necessarily. So it's probably quite good in the planning, as I've shown you, to try and extend your canvas and look at what the different creative possibilities are. But when you're really using it, and particularly if you're using a lot of mirrors, you need to start with an unbounded canvas, without your canvas extended, which of course makes life easier. So with that in mind, we'll start with the same picture, and this time we will just increase the number of mirrors so you can see the effect. 4, 5. So pretty soon you have, from very simple beginnings, you have amazing pyrotechnics. You have a fantastic, huge variety of geometric patterns and shapes of any number. And if you start moving the input dial around, you can really go to town on this. There is no limit to the abstract art that you can create. And similarly, if I start moving where these mirrors are located, we have every possible variation under the sun. And believe me, if you do that with a real picture, it does look quite amazing in its way. Of course, that's if you like making abstract imagery. If you want to make geometric patterns, you really don't need to go further. This mirror has everything that you could ever want. In truth, I'm more interested in just in making realistic things, things that are vaguely plausible, like I've shown you with the spiral staircase. And for that, I think there are 1 or 2 guidelines I can give, because obviously this is very complicated. One guideline is that not every image suits a mirror filter makeover. But something like this is the Oculus of the World Trade Center in New York. This would do very well. And I think that's because of the curves. So, of course, you can imagine that as you apply these mirrors, you distort geometry and perspective. And it doesn't jar as much on the eye if you start with curves to begin with. So I think my first tip would be pick the right image. And the second is, if you want things to be fairly realistic, don't be too ambitious with the number of mirrors and the angle of mirrors you use. So I think it would be easier to use, set that input dial at right angles, say, as I was mainly doing, set it at 0, 90, 180, 270, and have a fairly small number of mirrors, 1, 2, 4, seem to work particularly well. There are no absolute rules with this. It's all play and find out. But as a guideline, I think that's what I've come down to simplify the thing. So I'm now going to apply the mirror filter to this picture, and I'm going to show that you don't actually need all that extended canvas stuff, providing you got the right image. You can just play and enjoy what you get. So here I'm just going to move the input dial around, and Gary can shout out if he likes any of these. But you really have, if you like complex architecture, you have almost an infinite choice of things that you can make. And I'll move around the input dial. So quite a lot of these images I could pause at any point and feel that I had something that might be presentable if you like that kind of thing. And 3 and 4. So it's very easy, as you can see, to make these patterns. Triangular shapes in this case, star shapes in this case. And of course, you want to try and get the edges of these things on if you're making this kind of picture. And to do that, to fine tune it, you just go perhaps into the input dial and move it just 1 or 2 degrees, or you start moving the mouse pointer until the bits that you want are not clipped off the edge. So it's really as easy or as irritating as that, depending on your point of view. So I'm going to wrap up, but I thought I would just show a few I made earlier. And so the prize-winning picture, the Malcolm Leach trophy-winning picture on the right, is made from this really unpromising beginning on the left. It's almost criminal, isn't it? So I've made a black and white conversion. I've made it high contrast, but the heavy lifting here is made probably with 2 mirrors. And there's a lot of rubbish in the background on the left-hand side. And a lot of that disappears courtesy of the mirror. So there's maybe a bit of healing to do. And then obviously I drop that figure in. Skies can be ugly with mirror imaging sometimes. If you've got nasty cloud formations, you get very ugly patterning. And not in this case. This sky seemed too bland. So I replaced it. And I do often replace the skies when I do this kind of exercise. I have a few clouds, and I simulated a long exposure with a motion blur filter. In this case, I didn't have to do anything at all, really. Just do the black and white conversion. And this is the shard makeover, courtesy of the mirror filter and this nice curve that helps things along. And then a little personal project of mine. It would be nice if we didn't have COVID to go and visit sort of major world capitals and photograph great buildings. But with COVID, I don't feel very comfortable in doing that at the moment, and it hasn't been possible. So I have a little personal project in photographing buildings in and around Southampton and giving them my mirror makeover and trying to make them look like they come from somewhere very exotic, like, New York City, Big Apple, or Chicago, or something like that. So these 2 pictures, they obviously come from the same building. Can anyone guess what the building is? probably all asleep.
Ordnance survey.
It is Gary's favourite building. Look, it's this picture, which you've done a better job of it than that, Gary, in your case. But that's what you can do with the mirror filter with the Ordnance Survey building. And this one, and Ray mustn't say anything because I think Ray knows what this building is. But what building is that one in Southampton?
Not me there.
Is that the one down by the railway station? No.
It's actually the back of the Hansard Gallery.
Oh, right. Okay.
Near the Guildhall Square.
Yes.
So
I thought it was familiar, but
you wouldn't believe, would you, that picture on the right has been that one on the left.
Incredible, isn't it? But
it has. And then I don't think anyone probably will know this building. It's a bit obscure. It is the High Point Community Centre in Thornhill, which is used as a conference centre.
No, didn't even know that was there.
No, I'd like to go and have a look.
Yeah.
Well, then you'll find the security guard doesn't welcome you to begin with, as I did. But just say you're from the camera club, and with a bit of luck, you'll have the security guard who's studying a BA in arts.
Gary ignores security.
Yeah. So last parting words then. This filter is has a mind of its own, shall we say. It can be a bit obscure, but I find it tremendous fun. It's clearly very creative. It suits geeks like me. Whether it will suit ordinary people like you, I don't know. It certainly generates a lot of rubbish along the way, but I think there are a few hidden gems thrown in. So thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was really interesting.
Yeah,
Very good.
Thank you very much. That was very interesting.
Thank you, Keith.
I don't know if anybody's got.
I think because you can see it along the way, you don't have to keep all the rubbish, do you?
No, but you can waste a lot of time. That's for sure.
Well, I was quite interested in the first thing you said about what was the guy said that your first 10,000 pictures are the worst.
Yes.
So what that means is Gary's photos he takes in the afternoon are okay, actually, because he's already taken 10,000 in the morning.
1001's good.
No, it's excellent. That it's a good little tool to play around with, I think.
Yeah, very good, Keith.
That's tomorrow. Yeah. That's tomorrow gone.
And the interesting thing is, if you look online, you can find a video that tells you how the filter works, but not the sort of uses I'm making of it. You only find a video that tells you to make a logo, say, with the very abstract type uses, and I'm pleased that I've been able to tame it to something a bit more, interesting.
Yeah,
certainly done that.
Yeah, they're very good, I think. Good project.
We need to go on an urban photography visit.
Yeah. Well, there are some interesting buildings around Southampton. That's Keith's found one or two. Gary normally searches them out. I mean, we went up the university and we just walked in. And if you look as if you know where you're going and that you belong there, nobody bothers you, which is a bit naughty, really. But there you go.
I mean, it's cool.
You need a clipboard.
Yes. Or put a high-vis jacket on. You can do what you want then. Right. Anybody else got any questions on that?
No, that was really good.
Yeah, it was excellent. Thanks for that, Keith.
Keith,
Yeah. Yes.
Have you tried using it on images of I don't know, engineering things, say gear wheels and stuff like that, rather than?
No, I haven't. I mean, it's fascinating what you can try it on, really.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I wondered if anybody wanted to know how to put the guidelines on. You don't have to, but if you want to know and you're not sure, would it help if I?
Yeah. Wouldn't hurt.
maybe I should, so I'll reshare my screen.
Obviously, what I'll do is I'll put the video up on the on YouTube tomorrow, so people can refer back to it and work through it at their own pace if they want.
Oh, right. Okay, we'll take this one back to the beginning. Right. So what you need to do is you need to make sure this is an Affinity. I'm sure it's similar in Photoshop. You need to make sure that you can see these rulers. Can you see I've got a ruler there?
Yeah.
And there. And if you don't see it, you go into View and you make sure that you tick Show Rulers. So that's that the rulers are not showing now, and they're showing now.
Yeah.
So this document, if I look at its dimensions, it's 4,000 pixels by 6,000 pixels. How do I get the guidelines? Well, I click on the Move tool, and then I click on a ruler, and I get this double line, and I pull the double line down, click drag, till I put it, in the middle of the picture, 3,000. And I click and drag, having got the double line like that. Okay. Annoyingly, you can get snapping lines for lots of other things, but once you start using the filter, you don't get it. So that's how I do it. And then having accepted that, of course I just use the crop tool to make the canvas bigger, like I've shown you. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Lovely. That's great. All clear on that?
Easy peasy.
I have to say,
Yeah. Always looks easy
won't
when
be
someone
tomorrow.
shows you. When you go to have a go at it and then realise perhaps it's not quite as straightforward, but you'll have the video to work through.
No,
I
it's
was
taking me
playing
take
along.
me long. Sorry, Terry.
So I was playing along at home, if you like. Just,
Oh, right.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
Indeed.
I mean, it's taken me a long time to understand how the mirror works.
oh,
Oh, yeah.
that come through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So
Yeah, it's great.
that's
I wish I was
Highbury Tech
younger
College.
That's what,
Highbury
sorry.
Tech College. Sorry, go on, Kerry.
I just said I wish I was young again.
That's that's Highbury Tech in Cosham, and they've recladded it. It doesn't look like that anymore, so you can't do that one again.
Ah, good. Okie doke. Right, Ray, you ready to do your bit?
oh, Pete, you're back. Right.
Right.
So
That froze then, didn't it?
I'm in froze like a kipper. Hi everyone. So yeah, Pete just a little while ago we were talking about compositing and things like that, and I've dabbled in it. I'm no expert in it, but I've played about and I've done a few courses and things on it. I thought I'd just show you some of the course anyone's interested in building up their compositing skills on the back of the video Pete showed the other day. These courses have been really good for me. I've picked up a lot from them. So I'll just share what I've got on here. Let's see. Find it. Right.
That's a horrible image on the screen, right?
What, me? So one here, can you see compositing for beginners?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a really good course. That's by Affinity Revolution. You might have seen quite a few of those videos that Ali and her husband send out. Nice, nice, slow, calm voice, easy to pick up. She's done, I think it was only like 10, 15 pounds or something like that. So I've got, where is it? Compositing for beginners. you know, and it's really good, breaks it down into all sorts of areas. So I'll run through some of the key things I picked up, and then I'll thought tonight I'll just show you, or do my best to show you, compositing a chap onto a pier, and also adding changing the light and adding a shadow as well. That'd be useful.
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
The other one is a course called Work by Udemy, and Complete Guide to Photo Editing in Affinity. This is a compositing one. It's very, I mean, it's done by a professional designer, very in depth. But I'll show you the sort of things that you can create through that, which are quite cool. You might not be able to see that one. Can you see that? That is this one. Can you all see that, guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, this, you can make these kind of edits. Let's see, you can do all sorts of stuff, but it is quite heavy. I mean, there's something like 150 videos in there, right? So, you know, I'll just skip through it. Okay, let's have a look. So Affinity. So I like my Affinity photo. I guess what we got, 20% using Affinity in the club ish.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Or some of you got both, you know.
Yeah, I've got both. I don't use it much, but
Okay.
I will use it.
Okay, so I've got, I'll show you, I'm going to look at showing you how to deposit this chap, right, walking along on his phone. There's a lot of that these days, isn't there?
Yeah.
Pretty
Yep.
common picture. They're not my own pictures, they're just some stock ones. Then we've got this pier. That's in, is that New York? Is that going across the harbour? Yeah.
That's not a pier.
Bridge.
Yep.
Bridge across the harbour, right. And in the past, I've had a little dabble, as you know, with some of my flying lady,
Yeah.
with shadowless one. So I've had a bit of fun with that. I find it really good fun, just being creative, trying some new things. These are some of the, this one I followed the course. It's my own picture. I took a picture of my camera on the sofa, you know, and I just moved in there. My wife's in there walking, and you notice the shadow and things like that. And you can do this kind of work. I mean, you can really do some really cool stuff with it if you want to. This one, I followed a course on how to make this, the surfer in the book. And I think someone had this picture recently, didn't they, on the PDI?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Karen, was it Karen, or?
Yeah, it was me.
It was you, Karen, wasn't it? Was it?
Yeah.
Yes.
So this was in a magazine, actually. And when your picture came up, I thought, I recognize that. I've done it on a compositing course. But as you can see, you know, it's been jazzed up with the, you know, the balls, which are basically a group of these. And then they've also, of course, got the shadows attached to them as well. And you can do all sorts of cool stuff. World's your oyster. Right, so let's have a go with this chap. Okay, so something that is useful to know about when you are compositing. 3 checkpoints here about the lighting. So, you know, where's it coming from? Is it soft or hard light? The direction, you know, where the shadow's going, the camera angle. So, of course, when you find a picture like this chap, and you're thinking, well, I'd like to move them into there. You've got different colors going on. You've got actually the sun is up in the top right, but in this picture, you know, it's coming from the bottom right there, so it's different. So if you want your compositing to be natural, you know, and look good, then a lot of things to think about. But here's a little checklist: camera angle, and also the horizon. Focal length, of course. So how was it taken originally? Was it a wide angle lens, and so on? Recently, I think I wasn't on the call, but I put in a PDI, and I had bendy trees, if you remember that one. And I stuck a couple of people in the forest climbing the trees. That was actually on a GoPro. I know some of you are interested, how come it's a bendy? That was on my GoPro, which is quite cool because you can shoot RAW on it as well, which is excellent. So there's 3 things to think about. And then, of course, you've got, can you all see that all right? And just pump it up a bit. Oh. So thinking about the lighting, you can find ways of adjusting, you know, the contrast and saturation, so lighting, saturation, hue, and shadows. All right, so we'll have a play with shadows, see if I can remember what to do. And don't forget your contact shadow, which we'll have a look at. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is just, those of you who don't use Affinity, you know, the main things I'm going to use here are the move tool, all right, the view tool, zooming in and out. You know, I'm still learning some of these. We've got gradient tool, brushes, and so on. But all I'm going to do for this chap is Control-C to copy, and I'm going to stick him straight over the top of my bridge. Okay. Now, we know at the moment he's facing the wrong way and everything else. So what I'm going to do is, first thing we're going to do is flip a bit like Keith did. I'm going to right click, I'm going to transform, and I'm going to turn him the other way, right? Because I know that I actually want the shadows to fall from the top right. The other thing with him is that I know that here's the horizon. If we look at a picture in the background, see if I can get the pen tool going. Okay. So across there, we know that that is pretty straight, really. Ooh, okay. But if we look at our man, he's actually got a little bit of a different slant to him. So that's easily fixed. So he's kind of, you know, slanting along that way. Ooh, ooh, ooh. You get the idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab him and I'm just going to straighten that horizon a bit there. Okay. Cool.
Ah.
Right. That's moving back in. Okay. Okay. So yeah, let's get him about there. Right. Cool. Get rid of that line there. Delete that left. Okay. So I can do a rough selection around him. So, you know, one of the main things, of course, compositing is cutting out. So what I can do if I want is just grab my sort of freehand pen. And if I want, I can just, you know, for an idea of what he's going to look like, I can just do that. Okay. And then if I press mask, there he is. And Control D, turn off the marching ants. And what I've got there is to choose the right layer. Part of compositing I find is quite hard, is always choosing the right
Layer.
the layer you're on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
All right. So he's kind of in there. But I'm going to do, just going to go Control Z to bring it all back. Keith taught me the escape keys good as well, rather than Control D. Thank you, Keith. Oh, and by the way, Keith, I've added the little mirror down here. Thank you very much. Look, I've started playing about like Terry. Awesome. Okay. So let's cut him out properly. So let's do selection. Bracket keys just to make the selection a little bit bigger. All right, run it around here. I'm not going to go too detailed for tonight, but if I press Alt, I can remove bits I didn't want to. See there that we want to, not looking too bad. I press Refine. Now, of course, hair is always a challenge, right? So what we can do with this chap here, let's see. I can just let Affinity have another look around the edges here. All right, run it around here and see if it can get it a little bit better for me. Thank you very much. Now it's also a bit of red here on the back of his head there. So I'm just going to tell it by pressing foreground that is going to be foreground. Okay, all that bit in there, and it takes another look for you and so on. Okay. Also on the back here, we've got a bit of rucksack that we want to bring back in. That's not looking too shabby. We'll just leave that out tonight and bother with that bit. Oh, there's a bit of shoe. Have some of that. I want to tell Affinity that's actually background there. Okay. a little bit of messing about, but well, that will do for now. Okay, I'm going to apply that. Control 0 just to get it back in the center of the screen. And now press my mask. Boom. Okay. So we've got a lot better selection, of course, now. Press escape. And I know my man is still not quite in the right place. So let's see. He's a bit big for one. We'll get rid of that top left bit in a minute. You know, he's obviously looking like he's just been composited and stuck in there. So we've got a little bit of work to do. But that's roughly going to be right. Okay. There are ways of drawing lines on the horizon and so on. So you can get even more accurate, but that will do for now. Okay, so what else we will do? Let's see if we can get rid of that bit there. So I'm going to get my brush out, my B. See, I'm going to paint in black to conceal. There we go. Boom. There we go. Looking a bit better. Right. Wow. Okay. Now, so we've got him on there. That's all good. We've got him kind of facing the right way. But he is kind of looking a bit, the color's not quite right with him. So we're going to mess that a bit with, we're going to add a black and white level, because that's just going to give us like a check level to see what stands out and so on, what we need to do. And then I'm going to apply a levels adjustment, but I'm only going to apply it to my man. So I'm going to drag it down here to there and make it what you call a child layer. So in theory, it's only going to affect my chap there. Right. So I'm just going to mess about a little bit, bring some of these down. And so on. But for tonight, because I don't want to turn it into too long, we'll leave it at that. That's cool. Right. Let's get rid of the black and white adjustment. It's not looking too bad. Not looking too bad. Right. Now, obviously, our chap is floating around there, and he's missing something crucial to make our image look real. If we look in the back here, we've got, you know, got nice shadows falling down here. Yeah, he's got nothing at all going on with his shadow. T-shirt's a bit bright, but that might be another lesson, that one. The other thing is, the picture's actually a little bit grainier, this one, and there's lots of blue kind of hue to it, whereas this chap is a lot clearer and so on, got sun on his face. But anyway, let's have a look at how we can create a shadow. Right. Someone all right? Someone falling off chair? Too much wine?
Someone's woken up.
Right. So we have to what you call load selection, which I always get a bit wrong, but I press Control and then I'm going to click on right, let's try that. That's the worst can happen. Okay. Pixel layer. So I'm going to add a pixel layer. There. And I'm basically going to copy the outline of his body by getting my brush. There we go. Right. And I'm just going to kind of create a pixel layer, but only in the kind of dimensions of my chap here to create my shadow. Okay. So now what we're going to do is go to my move tool. Right, so can you see? There we go. Got a nice little shadow. All right. Now, totally wrong direction, of course. So we're going to transform him and we're going to flip vertically. Yeah, that must be it, because horizontally is going to be that way. Okay.
Yeah, vertical, isn't it?
That's the one. Right. Flipping down there. Okay. Moving down here a bit. So we'll get them roughly where we want. Let's try about there. Okay. And of course, we need to now warp it, because even if I decide, you know, that isn't very realistic on what's going on with the shadow. If you look at the chat back here and what's going on. So I've got it roughly where I want it. His other foot's off the ground, but I'm going to warp it. So back over here, I've got perspective tool. Turn that on, and we can do all sorts, look, to get this looking a bit better. All right. For tonight, I think I'll just sort of swap it in there. Okay. Right. Cool. Let's apply that. Of course, at the moment, it's looking a bit funny, partly because it's going over his foot. He's like he's got a ghost following him. So the pixel there, I'm going to click on that. I'm going to drag it underneath him. Okay. So now at least it's underneath his foot. Get rid of that pointy bit in a minute. Back. Let's do that now. So I select my pixel there and mask. Get my brush out again, my B. All right. Pop, gone. Okay. Okay, looking better, but of course it's not a solid shadow, right? And it's also black. So let's see, we can use our picker tool. I've got my zoom button, right? Where's the picker? Color picker. So I drag my color picker, and I'm looking for something that's sort of similar to this chap over here. Let's pop that there, and that's given me that color. So I click on it next to the picker, and I've changed it to that kind of color there. I'm actually going to go a little bit darker on it, but you know, just for tonight, that's fine. And then again, I'm going to get my brush. Actually, I've gone a bit wrong there, folks. We'll leave that, without confusing things, let's leave that tonight. We'll call it black. So
you can always adjust the opacity on it, I guess.
yeah, I've got a bit of bit of opacity going on. So Pete's quite right. We can do a bit of that.
That'll help, won't it?
That'll help. We can also add a gradient to it. So we can go over here, get one of these, right? And we can kind of fade it out, mess about with that. Okay.
Yeah, excellent.
So I can start getting even more realistic. It's gone a bit weird, but
Mm.
and then the other thing we could do, we can add things like a live adjustment, like a box blur, right? And that'll give our shadow just that little kind of edge. And then maybe Keith talks about this a lot. They're very cool. The blending modes. We whack on a bit of, that's quite a nice effect like that actually. But if I just choose my shadow and add a multiply effect, you can kind of see what should change the blend. So you can see like the bottom of the, you know, the wooden beams coming through a bit more. So there we go, folks. That's probably enough for now. But can you see how you can build it up, and you can of course color in this chap. You can match the background more by adding hue to it and things like that. But yeah,
very good.
Really good fun. Yeah. Is that useful?
Yeah. Very good. Thanks,
Thanks
Ray.
very much.
Excellent, thanks.
Thank you.
Right.
It's always easier to do it when you're not showing everybody, because you forget how many times you click on the wrong layer, don't you?
Yeah.
When you're doing
That's
it
the biggest
yourself.
thing, isn't it? It's getting the right layer.
It's when you sit there wondering why something won't work, suddenly look to your right and realize you're not actually on the layer you want to be.
That's it.
Easily done.
No, it's good. It's good fun. But yeah, I think the big part of it is getting the colours matched as well, and just thinking about the camera angle, the light. You know, maybe we could do a PDI where we'll just have a play, and you know, it doesn't have to be wow, does it? It just needs to have a go at it.
No, and we did that where we sent out a picture and everybody did their own interpretation of the, what was it? Tintern, wasn't it? Was it
That's
Tintern
right.
Abbey?
Ah, yes. We did a Back to the Future car.
Yeah, so it might be interesting to do something like that. Maybe we'll have a PDI where the subject is this mirror image that will come up with some different shapes. Bit of fun, isn't it? Something a bit different to try. If you don't try, you never find out how good you are at it, or how bad. I know which I am. Right, okay, thanks for that, Ray. Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's good.
And thanks again, Keith. Couple of things. I don't know whether we obviously had the results from our match last week in the league, and the night previous was Oakley's. Anyway, the scores have now gone in to the SCPF, and we are actually top of our league at the moment.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
good.
Well done.
Which is good. Well done, everybody. Where is it? It's here somewhere.
can I ask, why is it the same photos? Because we've
Well,
seen all them before, haven't we?
yeah.
And judged them before.
Yeah, we enter them at the end of the year. We pick out 8 pictures and enter them into the league, and then we obviously play against 7 other clubs. And it's in a. Let me just get up on
So
the
it's
screen.
the same 8 times 7.
Yes.
Yes.
They used to do it at a camera club night, an evening with the camera club. So that's why you used to have every club got a chance of having a look at the pictures rather than do it on Zoom.
I tried to explain it to my wife, and she said it's like the Six Nations, isn't it? Same teams. And I said, well, actually, it's the same match, except that you've got 8 different referees.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Thank you. Just confusing.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, to be honest, but that's what it is.
Different photos each time, you see.
No, right. Can you see that? Can you see? Yeah. So there we're top after 5 rounds. There's 8 rounds to go. So obviously each club holds an evening where they get a different judge in to what we've had, and he marks the pictures. And we're at present we're in Division 5, and there's how many? There's 8 divisions. We were in Division 7 when there were 7 divisions, so we're gradually working our way up.
Good.
Yeah, so we're doing all right.
So if we give him a backhander, then the judge.
Pardon?
If we give the judge a backhander, then.
Well, I don't think it makes any difference, Trudy. They just mark. They got their own way of marking, some of them.
I think the only solution with the backhander is to do it after they've marked us lower.
Yeah.
Different backhander though.
Yeah.
So, like the guy said, you look at the handover results for the first and second round. You just scroll off, Peter.
Yeah.
They came last in the first round and first in the second round.
Yeah. I know. Suet Bewley was saying they had the same problem.
Gibraltar's the opposite way around as well, isn't it? Gibraltar came first in the first round and last in the second round.
Yeah, there you go. In Division 4, Bewley came last, first, second, last. So, you just it's just what it is. Yeah, so we've got 3 more matches, 3 more rounds to go, which are next one's the 17th, which is this Thursday. So I'll probably go along to that. That's Storrington. Then next Tuesday, well, we'll be doing our own thing. So that's Sandhurst. And then middle of March is the last one. It's Fareham. So next week, just to give you a bit of a bit of notice on that, we've got a young model that we I've arranged for the evening. So we'll be back in the hall between 7 and 9, and you'll all have the chance to come along if you want and take some photos. We'll get the studio lights all set up. If you want to come along and take some photos and you haven't got a camera or don't want to bring your camera along, I can loan you mine. Just bring a card along.
Is it a male model?
It's a female.
Oh, damn.
Oh, what a shame.
Crying for us, girls.
If you want a male model, just look at all the different members you've got. You got your choice.
We have.
Couldn't wish for more.
What more do they want?
I know. Just say the word and one of us will be there, all right?
We'll put your names in a hat and we'll let you know.
I think they're looking for one with a pulse and more active.
Oh. Oh, that could be a problem thing, couldn't it?
Yeah, there you go.
But anyway, I thought we'd get a young lady in to do a bit of fashion and portraiture, and so it'll be a bit different. So hopefully as many of you as possible will be able to get along. We won't unfortunately be able to Zoom it because it's just too technically difficult for us on the night, because we're going to have the issue of sorting all the lights out and guiding everybody. So
you got any tips on what kit to bring lens wise and things? I mean,
well,
Nifty 50 will that do the job?
Yeah.
Like that?
What would you? What's the best lens, Gary? Would you say? I mean,
something around 70 mil, wouldn't it?
Yeah, roughly. I mean, I've used me 70-200 before, and that's good for portraiture as well.
Yes.
But yeah, around
Sorry, Gary.
24 105 would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would be good.
But I'll bring my 5D along, so if anybody wants to use that, they can do. Just bring a SD or a CF card with you, and we can. You can use that by all means. We've got the triggers, and we'll give anybody who wants any assistance in working all the equipment. We'll do that. Gary's an expert, Colin's an expert, and obviously we'll need to set the lights, get all those set up.
Have you got batteries for the triggers?
Do what, Kerry?
Have you got batteries for the triggers?
Yeah, I'll make sure we got some batteries. The triggers are there, Gary, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
Yeah. Sure? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they are.
Is a model anybody known?
Well,
is she a model or is she just a person?
No, it's a model, proper model that we've been recommended her by the New Forest Club, Emma. No, I don't know. Do you know her, Gary?
No.
I don't know if Colin Leach. Where's Colin Leach? There is he? Where is he?
No, it's chairs.
Oh, his chair's there. He's not. But yeah, she knows what she's doing, so it won't need to give her too much guidance, I don't think. But we just thought it'd be something a bit different. We haven't done it for a while, and it's
You
nice.
say it's next week, Peter.
Next Tuesday, yeah, the 22nd. 22nd.
Right.
21st.
Yeah, 22nd. Fine. Okay. I'll send you out anyway. I'll send you an email out later in the week with details. But something to look forward to. Okay, anybody else got anything they want to bring up? The week after that will be the February PDI, although obviously it will fall on the 1st of March. But she was available next Tuesday, so I booked her. Otherwise, we might struggle to get her in, yeah? Okay, anybody else got anything?
No.
All good?
Yeah, thank you.
No, thank you. Thanks again, Keith and Ray.
Yeah, well done.
Much appreciated. And I'll get that up on the YouTube channel tomorrow. So it'll be there for you to look at. You can go back and work through Keith's or Ray's instructions. See where you've gone wrong. Do it again. Have another go. Okay.
Okay.
Right, that's it.
See you next time.
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, will do.
Thanks very much.
Later.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, Ray. Thanks, Ray.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Night all.
Right, good.
Bye.
Night, John Boy.